It's time to go around and around and around. It is the penultimate race in the iRacing Indy Pro 2000 Championship here at the Worldwide Technology Raceway. Hello and welcome one and all to the start of Race Spot Open Wheel Night here on RaceSpotTV. My name is Lorenzo. I've got Lorenzo Bonder down in the commentary box with me, with Connery Maddock down behind the cameras as always for tonight's presentation. Just 2 races remaining, a 50-lap sprint around this 1.25-mile facility here at the Worldwide Technology Racing before we swing over to Germany for the season finale at the fearsome Nürburgring Nordschleife for a 5-lap sprint, Lorenzo.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I commentated the Indy top split a few weeks ago on this track. It was a banger with Adam Blocker winning, and we had a close battle coming to the photo finish between Phil Krause and Adam Crane. But I can't wait to see what this track does with these lower powered cars, because they don't have the adjustments like weight jacker adjustments the IR18 does. It's a track that I think you kind of have to rely more on lines than anything else. It's going to be an interesting one to watch, even though it's our last oval of the season.
It is, of course, the final oval, like you have just mentioned, and Greg Seitz looking to continue to maintain that points gap coming into today's race. 305 points, the only driver in the 300-point range. The next closest driver about 16 points back, which is Mitchell Ian Green down in second place. Greg Seitz is present. Once again, Mitchell Ian Green is a no-show, as is and Medema. So Greg Seitz looks like he'll be able to get an easy trip if he wants to continue to hold on to that points lead, as he's presently sitting on pole position, but only by about 200ths of a second.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting one because I think we are right on the drop week count. So I think that's Mitchell's last week to have a drop week. So I think he will have to get a absolute banger of a result coming down to Nordschleife. But other than that, I think this grid looks like it is going to be very close to one another in the first few laps. I think that might be a little bit of the strategy, show you say, and also the arrow wash a little bit going to turn 1.
Already only a few seconds remaining in qualifying. Of course, not a lot of time for qualifying, as it is a 5-minute session rather than the usual 10 minutes that we get in a traditionally road course series. Qualifying wraps up, though. We'll take a rundown for your starting grid here for tonight's 50-lap event. Up there on pole position, it is Greg Seitz with Jason Owens 2/10 down on him to start on the front row. Frank Newen is in 3rd place with Christopher Ebbs down in 4th. Simon Fell from California is out in 5th place with Shane Holstein from Indiana over in 6th place. Stevin Schlacka, RaceSpotTV's very own, down in 7th with Thomas Fisher in 8th. Ryan Piotrowski in 9th position with Rowdy Moreland, to round of the top 10 with Paul Cioli, the Canadian, the only driver to not set a qualifying time, starting well down in the order. Only an 11-car field tonight here, Lorenzo. It is not a full grid at all.
No, not good full grid at all, which should provide less yellow flags on paper and in some closer racing, depending on circumstances. Again, if there's any strategies to be caught, if anybody coming to the pits, if you got a yellow flag, it's going to be an interesting one to see, despite this being more of a track that you kind of have to dictate how you go through your mid portion of the stint and how you calculate those overtakes going to 3 and 4.
Waiting on a few drivers to grid up along the inside row before we get things underway here. Should be an entertaining race, to say the very least. Oval races have a tendency to be a little bit crazy, especially in the opening stage of this race. Now, of course, that's going to be the big ticket question. What is turn 1 going to play out like? We'll have to wait and see. Just waiting on your pole sitter, Greg Seitz, to grid up. So Greg Seitz has officially gridded on up, and we are ready to go. Green flag racing. Going to take that one and only pace lap before we get this 50-lap race underway. Looks as though 10th place or 9th place has elected to grid from the pit road. So Ryan Piotrowski going to be starting this one out from pit lane, wanting to potentially keep out of any mid-race or early race struggles that might befall the field here early on.
It's going to be interesting. Real quick, who do you have your money for this race?
Well, we've seen how good Stevin Schlacka has been in the oval so far. Remember back at Iowa, he was down, like we're talking bottom 5 drivers. He worked his way up and was competing for top 5 spots where he got collected in the wreck. He is a serious contender for a high finishing position here tonight.
No, I do believe Stefan is going to get a really good position over here. He has been practicing all week. He's been ready for this, and I can't wait to see it. Otherwise, he's going to be chastised here in the commentary booth.
It's a looming threat, I would say, for RaceSpot's very own. He has had some good performances in the past, so he is definitely going to be hoping for a good one here tonight. So it'll be in the hands of Greg Seitz with Jason Owens on his outside line, coming around through turns 3 and 4. Soon it will be in the hands of that number 5 machine. Now, of course, if a car spins out, there is the likelihood that we'll get that yellow flag, as caution flags are a thing here on the ovals, unlike the road courses. So drivers got that going for them if they happen to make a mistake. Green flag drops. Greg Seitz is off and away. A lot of the field caught napping in the run down towards turn number 1, which means everybody is now single filed out in the long train of 11 drivers. Jason Owens, though, already with a huge head of steam, going to make a run on Greg Seitz coming down to the turn number 3. That 87, Carl Lorenzo is trying to go for the race lead.
As going to go try for the race lead. The thing is, first few laps, you can get a really good run on the bottom side. Eventually, once the tire builds up and there's a little bit of wear in it, the higher line gives you a better run. And as you can see, Greg Seitz going for it on the inside. Now, inside becomes the best line going in. You kind of have to hold it midway through the corner and then come back up, as you nearly see them going wheel to wheel on the outside of number 2.
You saw Greg Seitz have been ahead by about a quarter of his car's width, or just had about that much between himself and Jason Owens, but Owens just got such a better driver on the outside line that he was able to carry all that momentum off. The track is not banked a lot, but it's banked enough that it certainly does make a difference. You can see further in the back, that's Frank Newen and Christopher Ebbs looking to potentially do battle for third. Here comes Seitz back to the inside, trying to make a run for the race lead. Can he hang on to it this time? He'll have to slide up in front, but he's not clear enough to do so. That 2 car's got another head of steam around the outside.
Yeah, right out the outside is Owens right there, being able to hold that position so far. I know Owens has a little bit of experience in the IR-18s. I think I saw him even race one of these splits, I think, in the Fix-It series. So I think he did quite well. So he knows the ebbs and flows of the track. So you were saying the bankings on turn 1 and 2 are right about 11 degrees. Turn 3 and 4 are right about 9 degrees. So it's not a big banking, but it's a banking that challenges you, especially the groove that you get out of turn number 2 and then number 4, which makes car a little bit difficult, especially if you are on the draft and then you suddenly break away from it. The car can get light. You might have to do some heavy countershoot to keep that car on track.
What also doesn't help about these bankings here, and the fact that they're so little, is the race of the corners are a bit different as well. Turns 1 and 2 is a heck of a lot tighter than turns 3 and 4 are. You can't drive really any of these corners about the same. You can see Greg Seitz looking a bit deeper to the inside line, trying to carry some speed off. Was not able to do so. Further behind, Schlacker worked his way up to 5th. Here comes Seitz going back underneath him for the race lead.
Yeah, talking about Stefan fastest lap of the race so far, as they are side by side going to 3 and 4, but now I think Seitz is going to be able to prematurely hold that lead for one more lap, as they're going to go into 1 and 2 once more, and Owens might have the position right here.
Riding on board with Christopher Ebbs, who has a great piece of action here. Front row seat for your battle for the race lead. They got a little bit tight on the front straightaway, but they managed to keep it out of each other. Owens pulls ahead in the run down to 3, but it's not enough to clear. Greg Seitz is going to be able to try to dive this one down and try to maybe dive it off the corner down the bottom, but he's not able to do so. Can he slide up in front of the 2? Looks like he can. That's going to give the run to Jason Owens, though, who makes the run around the left side now. You saw Frank Newen also make a run at Christopher Ebbs for 3rd as we continue to ride on board with that number 6 machine down for turn 1.
Yeah, and I think that view on the cockpit was the most interesting for me, because what happens in the IndyCar? That in the IndyCar, you have those 6 gears, but they are so short, and some gears go up to 3rd gear to try to get that grip going to turn number 1, avoid the understeer on the car between 1 and 2, and then to get a really good run outside at turn number 2 and then go to 4th. Here the car's barely going to 4th gear, maybe 4th gear if you have to go into the heavy braking. There's a little bit of a check up, but other than that, it's 5th gear all the way, power it out through number 2, and then just try to get that draft and make the overtake. As you can see, Stefan moving up one more spot.
Christopher Evans makes a run for the race lead as Jason Owens gets a terrible run off of turn number 2, giving third place to Schlacker, and that allows Evans to go for the race lead with Greg Sides up on top. Driving down outside lines, Schlacker trying to make it 3 wide for the race lead. Down to the inside, it is going to be 3 abreast coming down for turn 1. Sides pulls ahead from the top side, and Schlacker's got to back out from the bottom. No room for him to carry any kind of speed through the corner.
And how did he make 3 wide over there? Of course, he lost 1 spot. He's probably going to lose 1 more to Frank Nguyen on the outside. But this is some frantic racing. I did not expect. Oh, I thought that Stefan was going to hit the back wing of Jason Owens right there, but narrowly avoided it. And now you're going to see Stefan being on the inside. Going to get a little bit of help from Greg Sides on the inside, but I don't know if he's going to be able to hold that one to turn number 1.
Schlacker pulls ahead for third. Owens trying to cross him over. He'll try to get the draft maybe from Greg's side, but Stefan's got all the run he needs thanks to Christopher Evans. Going to cut across Owens' nose and not allow him to get that nose in there. So it's now a battle for second place. This is great for Greg Sides because he can start to pull further and further out in front. Already, we are 1/5 of the way through this race. 10 down, 40 to go.
Yeah, and it's been frantic from start to finish. This is why sometimes I like these smaller grid races because they provide you that close race. You don't have to race and miss the chaos and then the yellow flags and everything. I think one of the best examples might be Phoenix of what we saw this season. But this is what I like, the different line and strategies. I really want to see how this car performs with like 25, 26 laps in the stint because that's where the rubbers start to come in and you might have to make the adjustments to try to get the better line and get the run in. Oh!
Jason Owens with the lunge down to the turn number 1. How about the 2 car trying to fight his way to the front and get aggressive in doing so? Schlacker's going to go around the outside. Owens at the inside, trying to go 3 wide for a second into turn 3. Owens backs up from the bottom and wisely at that. I tell you what, he tried to give Evans a shot coming into turn 1 that last time by.
Talk about committed. Here we go. Stefan on the inside of Greg's Sides. Will he be able to make the move and seal the deal? Sides backed up a little bit.
Gonna get it done. Stefan Schlacker to the point for, I believe, what could be the first time on these official broadcasted races all season long. Not to say he hasn't been in the lead before this season, but from what we've seen on camera, might just be for us. Greg Sides with the inside line, though. Gets that crossover done. I don't think Stefan might be able to lead this first lap. He's going to pull back to the inside, though, and try to cut back.
Yeah, because these cars are so close to one another, I think you have to have right about a 4/10 of a gap difference from the driver that you're trying to break away from to try to get a lead in a lap alone. But look at the gaps. 1/10 of a second, 700ths of a second, 2/10 of a second. This is insanely close, and if you see, even 6th place is not far back. If you get a mistake, you can even bring 6th place and have a 6-car battle.
Nobody likes to make a move down to the turn number 1. Save, of course, for Frank Nguyen, who's trying to retake 3rd place, or Christopher Evans in the run down to turn number 1. Unfortunately for Nguyen, though, off of turn 2, he just loses all the momentum, has no draft to work with, and that allows Evans to pull ahead and clear for 3rd place. Not going to stop Nguyen for trying to throw him down the inside of turn 3, though.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things that me and Ninja Kinsella, when we were doing Gateway on the Indy Open broadcast, we were talking about setups because there are some setups which are really good for those early runs. They will give you the grip and will give you the performance necessary to make the overtakes and try to break away. And also there are those late setups which will give you that grip towards the latter portion of the stint, make the car more stable, faster under draft if there is any draft. So I think you have to find that commitment and then try to be secure with that commitment that you're going to make with the setup that you have. So I really want to see what kind of setup these cars, each driver have whenever we reach right about 8 or 7 laps when it's right around the half mark of the race.
Ebbs pulls the slider on Stefan Schlacker. That costs both of them time up to Greg Sides. You got Frank Nguyen fighting the inside groove now, that number 3 machine down to turn 3. Frank's just trying to regain his podium positions here that he lost at the start of this race and has not been able to regain since. and he's still not able to recover as he ends up losing the momentum off of turn number 4. Though he is able to get a good drafting run down this front straightaway from the air pocket, being punched out by the top 3 and try to attempt to pass in turn 1. He just doesn't have any speed on the inside line, unfortunately, for the number 1.
No, and like I said, I think on the latter portions of the run, the inside might be safer for you to make the dive, but eventually, because you're on that inside line, the brushing off of the tires is a little bit more extreme, and you get better runs on the outside line or the middle line, whatever you want to call it. So that's what makes this a gateway a race a little bit more interesting than some of the other tracks we've seen on ovals this season, which again is all about the lines you pick early on in the race and where your tire stands for the latter portions.
I'll tell you what, Christopher Evans, he's backing all of these guys up at the moment. He is slowing this whole group down. Greg Seitz pulling away, 3/4 of a second clear up in front, and the gap is only growing. One of these guys has got to find a way to get past Evans in a hurry, because he is just costing all of these guys time by sitting around behind him. Looks like Newman will try to get by. Evans is going to cut back low, though. Going to try to get a run and go for the glorious second place. What little there is. Stefan Schlacka still trapped back there in 4th. Try to find a way through. Jason Owens, I think he's just waiting in the wings to see if he can find a gap to maybe punch through as well.
It's going to be complicated because I think Evans is doing a very, very hard defensive job, not allowing anybody through. And of course, with the draft as it is right now, it is very hard for you to break unless you're in the leader. We mentioned this on the other broadcast. Clear air is life here, and if you are on the draft, of course, you might be prone to get faster laps in the early goings, but you're going to be locked down with the aero wash and everything. So it's not going to be easy for you to get closer if you keep going like that. So they need to find some way to negotiate overtakes and then get closer to sides, because this is looking a little bit more complicated to reach.
They're at a point where dirty air is starting to play against them as they're trying to reel down Greg Seitz. Now, we'll have to see what Frank Newman can do as now he heads up this, I guess, the only real train we got in the field here. The gap is kind of fluctuating a little bit. It goes between 8.5 tenths and 7.5 tenths away from Greg Seitz up in the lead. One of these guys is going to have to try something to see if they can close in the gap, because the way it's closing at the moment and fluctuating, it's not going to close enough for them to catch him by the end of this race.
No, it's not, and every tenth of a second here, it's precious. I think we were talking about with the IR18s, I think 3/10 of a second. It's funny, if you open up 3/10 of a second and you have the 3/10 of a second gap, it doesn't look like much in a 1 mile and a quarter a track, but in a track like this where laps go in 31 seconds, in the IR18 they went for 23 seconds, 25 seconds. It's a lifetime, so you cannot allow to lose more of these marginal gaps constantly and consistently lap by lap by lap. You just give the leader a leeway that he's going to be comfortable working with, and is going to be hard to catch with the latter portions, like I said.
And you can see on the gaps on the left-hand side, it is slowly growing more and more. It just broke a second for the first time so far all race long, and just shy of halfway as well. So it's not really helping at all, these guys up in front here. They battled too hard amongst themselves trying to get past Christopher Evans. Now, did Evans hold them up? One might argue yes, but doesn't change the fact that if they had gotten past him quicker, they might have been able to get back up there and fight it out with Greg Seitz. That might not be possible anymore.
That might not be possible anymore, but I think this is, I think where they understand that they need to get fight closer and closer and work themselves closer as we reach halfway point of the race here, Nolan. And the gaps slowly closing in the first portion of the lap. But other than that, I think they're struggling between 3 and 4 to find those lines to get closer to Greg Seitz, because he's just breaking away on that 3-4 line.
Still over a second between Greg Seitz and the rest of the field behind. That doesn't mean the battle is quite over, though. You can see just how close second on back through fifth are running with each other. And you got 6th place of Simon Fell just waiting in the wings. Evs back down the inside of Stefan Schlacka, trying to retake third. I don't think he'll be able to get there, though. Stefan's got that run off of turn number 2, but he's going to have to see if he can maybe try something in 3.
Yeah, and I think looking on our perspective of this race, I think this is it. I think unless we get a yellow flag, this is pretty much the scope of this race. You know, they're going to be fighting for top 3. It's going to be very unlikely for them to fight for win over here, because I think Greg is just going to break away more and more and more during the lap. So it's going to be more complicated to catch the championship point leader in this one. So I think the fight is going to be basically resorted to these 5 cars going for top 5 and top 3 spots.
Look at Jason Owens with a huge head of steam on the outside of Christopher Evs. Evs kind of getting a bit chopped there by Stefan Schlacka mid-corner in 3 and 4. That forces Evs to drop back out of 4th place and down to 5th as Jason Owens picks up P4. And that allows Simon Feldekolsen a little bit more on 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th. They're all running in a line. Keeping our eyes up on this battle and taking a look through as well. I'm seeing Shane Holstein on his own out of turn 2, along with Rowdy Morley running by himself. Paul Seeley's by himself. Ryan Pietrowski started for pit road. He's still impressively on the lead lap, even though 23 seconds back and fighting it out. And then, of course, you got Fisher, who is 6 laps down and had a bit of an incident on lap number 20, I believe it was, forced him down pit road. Stefan Schlacka trying to go for 2nd place.
Yeah, Schlacker going for 2nd place as Jason Owens steals Schlacker's fastest lap of this race. So this is an interesting one.
Oh no! Jason Owens spins round contact with Stefan Schlacka. Schlacker's front wing missing. And Jason Owens takes a wild ride down into turn number 3, ripping the left rear tire out from the car. Caution number 1 is out. That's the caution this field needed to reel them into turn number 3.
Yeah, a little bit weird one to call this. I think it was due to the fact I think he got boxed in. Oh, it was just a bad combination of, you know, aligning yourself, going to turn number 3, and Owens really had a good run. You can see the draft of the car just pulling him closer and closer. And you can see Schlacker aligning himself and both cars meeting halfway. We cannot pin this one on Stefan specifically, because normally this we would call a race incident in my point of view. It's just unfortunate. You cannot predict this kind of thing happening going to an entry of the corner.
In case of one coming up, one going down a little bit. Now one did go one direction a little more than the other. And that is what, at the end of the day, resulted in this one. And you see Stefan, of course, with the... he's going to need that nose change, which is definitely going to hurt him, especially if he overshoots his pit box, as he just does. He's the only driver to come down pit road, though, it's worth noting, so it's not like he's going to lose any further positions. Jason Owens is effectively out of the race, though, with huge damage to his left rear suspension, not including the front wing, as a matter of fact, as well.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing that I want to see if there's more damage on Stefan's car other than that front wing, because it did look like it did had some maybe steering damage than anything else. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how that goes out, as the one thing that Stefan doesn't need is being lapped, as all cars are going through 3 and 4 right now.
Stefan can call it race over if he ends up going a lap down. That's, of course, a very crucial thing. No lucky dogs in the Indy Pro 2000 Championship, unlike in a vast majority of stock car racing series on the iRacing service, where, of course, the first car lap down not involved in the incident gets a free pass on the pace car to get a lap back. I'm noticing Rowdy Moreland does come down pit road, taking a bit of service himself in his number 7 machine. So, interesting call from Moreland. They didn't get down the first time around. Stefan is off and away. I think he got out in time. He'll stay on the lead lap.
All right, this is interesting. I think that what makes him right there is be the car that has the better grip. And I think, like I said, you need that grip going to this. But here comes Stefan once again. I think he's going to reset on those tires, maybe, as that left-hand side is still looking a little bit bent.
is going to come down pit road for a second time, no doubt, to top up on a little bit of damage that needs fixing. He's got to hope just that he doesn't take too much time to get that thing fixed up. He does need, of course, time to catch the rest of the field if he wants to stay on this race and go for potential race win. So Greg Seitz has still led a majority of the laps, but his 1 second gap back to the field has been completely neutralized as a result of this yellow flag. And with under 20 laps to go, it's going to be a mad dash to try to take it. You think we get one more yellow for the end of this thing?
Well, with the grid the way it is, I don't think we're going to get a yellow flag. It's just a matter of if we do, I think, when do we see it? I think we probably would see it in the final 5 laps of this race. So depending on how close Nguyen, Abs, and Fell fight for P1s out of sights right now.
Lights are out on the pace car. We get set to go green flag racing this time by single file restarts, as always, here on the ovals. It has been an exciting race so far. I'll tell you what, I don't think we expected, quite a mad race with an 11-car field, but they have certainly been delivering out there today.
They are. I think Gateway is one of those tracks that provides you some quite thrilling action if you have the perfect grid for you to build up the heat right here. I think we found the good grid that is providing us this action, as you can see the pace car going to the inside portion of turn number 3 and 4. Everybody's staying on the outside so they don't get lapped on the outside. We're going to go green in time by Noah.
Pace cars in pit road. Greg Seitz launches early. We are green flag racing once again from the Worldwide Technology Raceway. And we get set to wrap this thing up with just a few laps remaining. It's a top 4 breakaway side by side. Further behind with Shane Holstein passing around. 11th place to Thomas Fisher in 5th place. Schlacka back in 6th. And they're a long way back from the race leaders, who are now side by side.
There we go. You went on the inside, and we were...
Oh! Seitz hard to the wall! Caution flies. Seitz, the dominant driver, taken out by Frank Nguyen coming down to turn 1.
Wow.
Or turn 3, excuse me.
Wow. Did we jinx it?
We may have just. Taking a look at the replay from the top. Was it a case of, they both started turning in. I think Nguyen turned a bit shallower, wanted to take away Greg Seitz's line, and Seitz unfortunately fell for it. Slams into the side of Nguyen's car, and that shoves him spinning around and hard into the outside wall. Just pancaked it with the left side. Bouncing off the nose and then the gearbox. There you see it again. That car is destroyed.
Yeah, to put it mildly, as it's gonna be an interesting one. I don't know if this is gonna damage long-term Seitz prospects of this championship, as we see Stefan right here as he reaches the crash right on time, right on cue. You can see on the outside Seitz car a little bit broken, but it's a downer, of course. And I think the thing that right now we have to settle is the fact that Seitz is going to use this as one of the 4 job weeks of the season. I think he had bad performances at Red Bull Ring in this one, and I'm trying to find if there was one more bad performance he had this season, or DNF or something like that, which is hard to find, to be very honest.
Unfortunately, despite that early caution to bring Stefan back into the field, it's not going to matter for the number 3 car. Report he's got a black flag. And unfortunately, this one came from passing under yellow flags. Might have jumped the gun on the restart. That's unfortunate, though, for Stefan Schlacker. He's going to have to serve that under green flag conditions, meaning he's effectively out of the race now.
Yep. And all I can say is rip.
So we're going to be going green here with probably about 11, 12 laps remaining. This should be an interesting one, especially if it ends up playing out the way that first restart did. Now, keep in mind, that was our dominant car on the day that just got wiped out in our second caution. All these guys, they've been duking it out back and forth pretty much every single lap. It's anybody's game at this point.
It is. I think now it falls down on Nguyen, Zabs, and Fell slap the top three. Maybe Holstein, if he can get a really good start and keep it up with them, it's going to be an interesting one to see. But other than that, these three cars in the top three have been fighting the most and fighting the closest. It's going to be an interesting restart. And also, notice if there's any considerate damage on Nguyen's car whenever we get this going in under green, to see if he has any damaging performances going towards those left-hand turns.
Well, this will be an entertaining restart then. You got yourself one guy who's giving himself a black flag after passing before the line on the inside. You've got your main race leader taken out.
I'm gonna give Stefan some slack here because I did have a league race at Gateway, and I didn't overtake the car under yellow. I did overtake the pace car going to the pits into the pit entry under yellow, and I was in 10th place. I just say a certain Brazilian was not happy with the results, so he can feel a little bit easier with the fumbles right here.
How do you pass the pace car from 10th place and not realize what you're doing?
Let's just say my day was a very long day and my brain wasn't processing. Normally my brain doesn't process a whole lot of information, right, Nolan? You know this by now already. So
it's my iRacing career in a nutshell.
All right. But I was like, oh, let me just go into the pit lane. I got a really good shot over here. As soon as I went to the pit lane and I sped up the car, my teammate goes, Lorenzo, don't do it. And I couldn't process why not doing it. As soon as I got into the pit lane, I was like, I'm dumb. Just let's go with the race and see what I get at the end of the day. As you see Stefan on the inside as we go green once again.
Gonna be coming down the pit road to serve that black flag that he got for passing cars before start finish on the last restart just a few laps ago. 11 laps remaining. Frank Nguyen launches. We're back on the way for the Worldwide Technology Raceway.
And not a good start for Fell right here as he dropped back a few tenths of a second and kind of opened up the door to Holstein and to contend for that third spot. Like I said, if Holstein can keep up with Fell at the start of this second restart, I think he can contend for top three right here. This is going to be an interesting one to watch.
Ryan Piotrowski, I think, gets himself a penalty for the same mistake that Stefan did, passing before the green flag officially flew on the inside line. He's coming down pit road. He launched early and passed one car up the inside. It was Thomas Fisher, and then immediately slowed right after and asked, what did I do? And that tells you one thing. It was that penalty that Stefan found himself getting earlier on. It's going to be a fierce fight for the lead, though, and I don't know what's going to come on over on top of this, but so far, it's Ebbs versus Nguyen for the battle for the win.
Yeah, and I'm getting shades of Adam Crane versus Phil Krause right here when I was commentating on Indies. It's going to be an interesting one to watch. If there's a thing about Gateway, it's a track that is easy for you to get close. It is a track that is hard for you to overtake. You have to work 3, 4, 5 laps of pure patience, and if you get that run, then you can actually seal the deal. So I think with the Indy Pro, it might be just as similar as their bigger brother car. So it's going to be an interesting one to watch as we're going to go 8 to go next time by.
8 laps remaining from Gateway. Simon Fell waiting in the wings of the battle for the race lead. See if he can maybe pick up another couple of spots. The next driver back, Shane Holstein. But Holstein is running consistently a tenth or more slower than these guys up in front. He is not going to be a factor for the race win tonight. It is going to be down between these three. So this means it's a 3-horse race from here to the end of this thing.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting who comes out on top. For now, Ebbs has a really good line going, and he can make the overtake, I think, whenever he kind of desires. I think he's just working when to make that overtake, I think, because one of the things, Like I said, Gateway is a hard track to pass, and then it's not easy for you. Once you pass, you kind of have to get a 3-lap cushion of try to hold your position, hold your ground against the other competitor. So I think that's what Ebbs is trying to do. You know, find that point of no return, make the overtake, and then if anything happens at the portion, he can win the race with the yellow flag. I think he's just measuring the gap right now and not allowing Felt to come in. As you can see right now, he is going to the inside.
Cuts to the inside line. Christopher Ebbs to the point, but not for long. Frank Newen trying to fight the outside groove. We've seen the momentum being able to carry around time and time again today. In the process of pizza itself, Newen still leads, but only just with 5 to go.
At just 5 to go, as we can see now, that outside line for Newen might be a little bit strong as they come outside, nearly grazing the wall. Newen right there. Ebbs is going to be able to tuck back in between that sandwich and reset for one more lap. But time is running out for Ebbs if he wants to make an overtake and then seal the deal and not let Newen come closer. But you can see the line is going to be better now.
4 to go at this point. Another caution, I believe, would end the race. No green-white checkers here in the Indy Pro 2000 Championship. Same with the IndyCar Open Series. Newen cutting back to the inside. Ebbs cleared him off of 2. Maybe not for long, though. This time it's Newen to try to fight the bottom.
Again, getting the good run inside on the bottom, but that outside line gives you the better run on the long run. As you can see, Ebbs might get a little bit of a advantage going into the turn number 1, but a Newen actually able to
look out! Oh, Ebbs in the wall! Ebbs in the wall hard! Is that going to be the race? Stopped against the outside barrier in turn 2. He pulls it off! There's no caution! We're keeping this one green to the end!
And look at Fell. Like I remember, I'm holding so hard to not make a pun right here and make Connery get out of England and bash my head. But it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to go 2 to go right here. Fell might have this one in the bag if he just calculates this one right.
He's got to close in first, but Frank Newen might have some damage. Got a bit of a bad line through turn 2. That allows Simon Fell to close right up to the gearbox of Frank Newen's car. Cuts over to the left side, down for turn 3 for the penultimate time today.
As now we can see Newen and Fell going side by side at turn number 4. White flag over here, Nolan. This one's gonna be really exciting for you to commentate.
Final lap on the day. Simon Fell's got himself one more chance. Diamonding off the corner out of turn number 1 and trying to run down Frank Newen for the race lead. But it's a big gap to try to close down through the back straightaway. I don't think he's quite going to be able to get there. Down for turn number 3. Simon Fell's going to now try the outside line to try to get a good run off of turn number 4. Frank Newen with not as much speed, but it's not going to be enough for Fell. Frank Newen wins the race here at Worldwide Technology Raceway.
Wow, what a finish from Frank Newen right here. Going to turn number 1, had that car contact. Unfortunate for Ebbs. He nearly kept control, and I mean, he nearly kept that car on track. Just a little bit of counter steering killed the car into the wall. But other than that, what a race. What a really good race we got here at Gateway. I'm surprised that they were fighting from start to finish, even though we still had 2 yellow flags in this race.
Oh my gosh. That was quite the ending to a race. Simon Fell tried and tried. He just couldn't get there soon enough. Frank Newen takes a win from the Worldwide Technology Raceway, and with all drivers across the line, let's take a swing down for your official post-race results here from Gateway. It is Frank Newen to take a well-deserved win, currently burning it down to the front straightaway with Simon Fell down in second place, just about 2/10 back. Shane Holstein is in third place with Paul Seeley fourth. Rowdy Moreland is in 5th place with Jeff Schlacker, the last car in the lead lap, down in 6th. Ryan Piotrowski is in 7th place with Christopher Ebbs after crashing out 2 laps down in 8th with Jason Owens, Thomas Fisher, and Greg Seitz rounding out the 11-car field on the night. So Frank Newen enjoyed himself down to the front straightaway. giving out quite the cloud of smoke into the inside wall, but what a run throughout everybody in the grid so far today. I mean, it has been a phenomenal race.
Yeah, that's why I sometimes say that these small grids, even though we look, oh, it's 11 cars, and it might sound underwhelming, but if you find the right grid, we can have some banger of races in iRacing, regardless of what category it is. And we got one right here. 5 cars fighting for the lead. Of course, there would be some attrition fighting. 6 cars, 5 cars fighting for those top 5 spots, and it happens. And those things are called racing. You know, rubbing is racing, and we got a really good race here at Worldwide Technology Gateway Raceway.
It has been a phenomenal race indeed, and of course, you can't miss the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Are going to be up for the season finale on week number 12. That is going to be about all the time we are going to have for 1 week now, and we are going to be wrapping this one up, and we'll be back for more for the iRacing Formula V Series in just about a half hour's time. We'll see you later.